If your Hisense TV or Hisense Roku TV has got a black screen, it's usually caused by a backlight failure, but it could also be a failure of one of the boards or components inside your TV, or a failure of the cables linking them together, or even just a software issue. So in this video I'm going to cover the main fixes from simplest to most complex, which I think will help most people get their Hisense TVs back up and running again. We'll start by looking at the potential software issues because they're easiest to deal with, and then go into the hardware fixes after that. So first of all, just try power cycling your Hisense TV. So this is a basic step, but it can often fix a TV that's just been left on permanently or left plugged into your mains electricity permanently. So switch off your TV and then unplug it. Hold down the physical power button on your TV for at least 15 seconds, and then wait for a further 30 minutes for any residual power to drain from your TV's capacitors, and then plug your TV back in and try switching it on again. If you see a power light, or if your TV appears to boot up, or show some other signs of responding, then that's a good sign. If your TV is completely dead, and you don't get anything from your TV, then it's almost certainly a hardware failure. But we'll just keep going through the remaining quick fixes first before we get into the hardware fixes. So if your TV was responding, then just try removing any HDMI connections and other cables, so there's only the power cable going into your TV, so that you know that the issue isn't being caused by another device controlling your TV. And you should also make sure that your TV is getting a consistent voltage. So make sure there's no smart plugs or surge protectors that your TV is plugged into, and your TV is plugged in directly to a wall socket. You might also want to just try a different wall socket if you want to be extra thorough. And also some models of Hisense TV have got a physical reset button somewhere on the back or the side, probably near the HDMI ports. So just try putting a pencil or a paperclip into that button with your TV plugged in, and hold that button down for about 10 seconds, and then try your TV again and see if that helps. If any of those have worked, then you've almost certainly just got a software problem. So if either you have to keep doing any of these fixes over and over again, so you have to keep power cycling it every day, for example, or if you've had no response at all from your TV, or if it's still just not working properly, then you should now look at hardware fixes. So you want to start by, first of all, just doing a flashlight test on your TV to try and determine if you've got a backlight issue or an issue with one of the boards inside your TV. So plug your TV in and try to switch it on, and then wait for it to boot up if it is doing it, or just wait for a couple of minutes if nothing appears to happen when you try and press the power button. And then get a flashlight or use the light on your phone and hold it at an angle right up against the screen, and see if you can see any faint images coming through on your screen. So you might want to try and pull up the menu, or if you plug in an aerial, and just listen to see if you've got any sound coming through your TV. So if you have any sound, or if you've got faint images that you can see on the screen with the flashlight up against it, then that's a sign that the signal is working properly, but you've almost certainly just got a backlight failure. If the backlight is powering up, so the screen is glowing, but it's just a black screen and there's no signal coming through, and that would suggest there's a failure on either the main board or the T-con within your TV. And if you just have no response at all, then it could be a failure anywhere from the power board to the main board, or anything within your TV or any of the connections. So the next step after that is just to open up your TV using that information you've now got, and then you can focus on where we think the problem lies. So first of all, unplug your TV, hold down the power button for 10 or 15 seconds, Then wait for 30 minutes or so just to make sure all power is drained from your TV, because you don't want to give yourself an electric shock when you open it up. So opening your TV should be pretty straightforward. Just put it face down on a soft surface and then look for screws around the edge. Some models might just have plastic clips which you need to jimmy open with a flathead screwdriver. And if the back panel doesn't come off easily, then just have a look for any hidden screws that might be near the HDMI inputs, for example. And make sure you've got all of the screws out. And then the back panel should easily just open out. You might have some more tape and chassis parts inside your back panel that just protects all of the boards. So you'll need to take all of those out. When you take all of the screws out, it's a good idea just to keep all of the same type of screws together, maybe in a little plastic bag, and mark on it where they've come from so that you'll easily be able to replace all of the screws afterwards. You'll probably have a few tens of screws by the time you've got your TV totally taken apart, so it's a good idea just to mark where each one has come from so you can easily put your TV back together again. And it should only take you a few minutes just to get the back panel off and get any parts hiding your boards off so that you can see the three main boards within your TV. So you've got the main board or the motherboard, which is where your HDMI cables and other cables plug into. And this is the logic for your TV. This sends a signal to the T-Con board, which translates the signal into something that the panel can use and sends it to the panel down to ribbon cables. And these are all powered by the power board, which is where your power cable plugs into and provides power for all of the boards in your TV and from the backlights itself. Now, if when you did the flashlight test you did see faint images, then you know that the problem is either with the power board not providing power to the backlights or a failure of the backlights themselves. So to rule out the power board as a cause, you can use a multimeter just to check that the components are delivering power properly, or you can just look for any signs of damage on the power board. So look for any bulging capacitors or any burn marks. If everything looks okay, it's almost certainly a backlight failure, because backlights do tend to fail much more commonly than power boards, because the heat from the LEDs causes them eventually just to burn out. So if you saw faint images when doing the flashlight test and your power board all looks okay, then the next step is just to disconnect the cables going to the backlight and make sure that they are not damaged and that they look okay. So you'll likely see a high voltage sign on your power board and you'll see the cables going through the chassis to the backlight. If they all look okay, then you should just disconnect all of the boards and remove them from your TV, because you'll now need to get to the backlights themselves. So the backlights are hidden beneath the screen, and there'll likely be a few more screws to undo and lots of clips that are holding the screen in place and protecting it. The screen itself is very thin and fragile, so make sure you don't damage it when taking everything out. To undo the T-Con cable, you need to flip up the little clip holding the cable in place. For all of the other cables, you'll likely just have to squeeze the connector to remove them, and they should all come out fairly easily. Once you've taken your TV apart and removed the panel and all of the backlight diffuser sheets, then you'll have access to the backlights themselves. Now you can test the individual backlights with a TV backlight tester, or you can use a multimeter, or you can try plugging your backlights into your power board and plugging your TV in, and then seeing if the backlights power up. A simpler way, if you just have standard LED backlights, is just to get a normal 9-volt household battery, a couple of pieces of wire, and then make a circuit connecting to each LED in turn, and the battery will power up the LED if the LED is working. If you come across some or multiple LEDs that don't work, then you just need to replace all of the LED backlights. And that's very simple to do. So now that you've got them accessed, you can just unscrew them and remove them from your TV. Have a look on eBay or Amazon for your TV's model number, and you can buy a totally new set of backlights at probably about $30 or so. You can also do the same for any boards in your TV. So if you saw damage on the power board earlier and you wanted to replace that, then again it's a similar kind of price off eBay. But with power boards, you want to make sure that you replace it with an identical model number. With the LED backlights, it doesn't matter so much that they're replaced with an identical one because they're just a very basic component. And as long as they physically fit in your TV and physically will connect to the adapters in your TV, then it will be fine. If when you did the flashlight test, you saw that the backlight was powering up, or you had no signal coming through the TV, so you did not see any faint images, then you'll need to look at the main board or the T-con for any issues. So again, you can look at these with a multimeter, and you can replace them with similar components off eBay quite easily. A good way to test whether it is the main board itself that's at fault or the T-con is just to disconnect one side of the T-con and then plug your TV in and see if you get a picture on half of your screen. You can then swap over which side of the T-con is connected and then just test it again. If you get a picture on half of your screen with one of the T-con cables connected but not the other, then that suggests you've got a T-con issue and the T-con needs to be replaced. If you still don't have any picture at all, then I would replace the main board. But the only way to be sure really is just to test with a multimeter. So just to recap, if your TV has got a black screen and has no response to any inputs at all, you've got no LED lighting up, nothing seems to happen when you plug it in, then that's usually a sign of a power board failure. If it appears to start up, or if you've got an LED flashing, and if you then do the flashlight test and see faint images, then that suggests you've got a backlight failure. If you do the flashlight test and don't see any faint images, then that suggests either a main board or a T-con failure. But hopefully with about 20 or 30 minutes of investigating, you should be able to figure out exactly what the problem is and fix it. And there's plenty more troubleshooting videos for Hisense TV on this channel.